Hello, I'm Kathy and I'd like to welcome you to this tutorial about roles and responsibilities in farm businesses. I know it sounds like a really dry topic, but we're going to see that it has a lot of application to your farm. Farmers are usually thought of as self-reliant people working against the odds. In reality, usually a number of people contribute to any farm business. Think about spouses, family members, employees, bankers, agronomists, other consultants and so on. There's always plenty of work to be done, both physical work and mental work. And it really helps to think about what jobs need to be done, how they could be divided up, and who's responsible for each one. You've probably been answering these questions without even thinking about it, but when a problem comes up, you may find that a lack of clear organisation structure means that some jobs don't get done, or no one knows who is responsible for something in particular. This may lead to mistakes or poor communication, and both of those can open up conflict in your farm business. Organisation structures seem to belong to big businesses, the idea of them at least, or at least those businesses with non-family employees. However, all businesses, no matter how big or how small, have some organisation structure, even if it hasn't been written down or thought about in any formal sense. Often we haven't even thought about why a particular structure is being used on a farm. As we make changes in the business, especially when a new employee or a family member starts working in it, reviewing the organisation structure can be very helpful. Rather than just hoping people will learn to fit in and get along somehow, it's more useful to think carefully about the responsibilities in each position and the relationship among those positions. Then we can welcome new people in, clear in the knowledge of what they are going to do and what responsibilities they're expected to take on. When thinking about that organisation structure, it's really useful to keep 5 principles in mind that we're going to look at here. These principles will help you design a structure that works on your farm and will also give you a checklist for evaluating and improving your current structure. The first principle deals with the exception to the usual. This principle says that someone must be available to handle the exceptions to the usual situation when something unexpected happens. For example, when a worker has a problem that they can't handle, someone has to be able to assist and make decisions. Say a tractor driver hears a really odd noise in the engine. There needs to be someone for him to discuss it with. The noise could be something small, not at all serious. Or it could be an early warning of a major problem. If so, it's probably best to stop work and get the repairs done immediately. The second principle is decentralisation, and this says that decisions should be pushed down the structure as far as possible. In a nutshell, this is about giving workers a training to handle decisions confidently. This frees up managers to make the bigger decisions and stops time being wasted by workers waiting for other people to make decisions. Tied up with this is the third principle of delegation, in particular the delegation of decision making. Once we've decentralised and trained workers to be able to make decisions, we have to give them the authority to make those decisions. And with those decisions comes responsibility. we need to expect our workers to take responsibility for their decisions. The next principle deals with the direct reports. Direct reports is simply the number of people a manager or supervisor or a boss has directly reporting to them. We need to think about how many workers a manager can effectively lead. The usual guideline is that there should be no more than 5 to 6 people directly reporting to a manager. However, larger numbers are possible depending on the job. How complex it is, how close at hand are the workers, and how varied the jobs are will all affect how many workers a manager can comfortably supervise. Our last principle is one of the really important ones. One boss. Everyone should have just one supervisor. Trying to answer to more than one boss puts a worker in a really difficult position, particularly when they're getting conflicting messages from each of those bosses. So let's start looking at how this might appear on an organisation chart. Organisation charts are just pictures that show how the business is organised. A farm business may consist of just one decision maker, the boss, and everyone else doing what they're told. In that case, we would draw a simple organisation chart like this one. Now, even though an organisation chart might look like an overkill in a farm business, having a chart is one of the easiest ways to identify the roles and responsibilities in your business. This chart we've got here doesn't actually show what are the roles that everyone else is filling, and we're going to move on to looking at ways of displaying those. Now, another way to draw an organisation chart is to think about what types of jobs you've got. In this farm, they've identified production, for example, grain or livestock, marketing the products they produce, and looking after the finances as the 3 main types of jobs. We'd find that there is probably one person specialising in production, another person in marketing, and someone else in finance. Finally, someone is a general manager and they're overseeing the whole show. With this type of structure, people are able to specialise and often will become more efficient in their work. It cuts down the chance of duplicating efforts and allows a general manager to concentrate on overseeing the whole business and establishing an overall strategy and plan for the business rather than getting bogged down in day-to-day minute detail. Of course, there are some downsides to this structure. While a production manager may become highly skilled at production, he or she may not appreciate the need for marketing what's produced or how the financing works to make the production possible. Similarly, other people may lose sight of how their little area fits into the whole business, and everyone may fall into the trap of thinking that the overall business performance is a responsibility of just one person, the general manager, rather than thinking about their own contribution to it. Even though an organisation chart might look like overkill in a farm business, having a chart is one of the easiest ways to identify roles and responsibilities. In this case, we can see that we have a production manager role, and accompanying that would be a set of responsibilities. This is distinct from the marketing manager roles and responsibilities and the finance manager's roles and responsibilities. In reality, a person may be wearing a number of hats. For example, we may have one person filling 2 or 3 of these roles. Even so, it's still worthwhile to think in terms of a structure, and that way everyone will know who is responsible for what. This structure is organised around the products produced on the farm. In this case, we may have a cropping manager, a livestock manager, and so on. Under the cropping manager, there may be someone devoted to cereals, someone else looking after oilseeds, etc. The cereals manager would be responsible for all activities required for producing and selling cereal crops. The oilseeds manager would be responsible for everything to do with producing and selling the oilseed crops. Under the livestock manager, there may be someone looking after cattle and someone else looking after sheep. These people are likely to develop great expertise in their area. The overall cropping manager is responsible for all crops, and this allows some of the decision making that may have been done by the general manager to be shifted to the cropping manager. Similarly for the livestock and the finance managers. One of the problems with this is that there can be duplication of effort. The cropping manager is responsible for getting all the inputs for the cropping, managing the employees and selling the products. There may be times when there are real benefits to be gained by cooperating with the livestock manager, such as maybe sharing employees in quieter times or bulk buying anything that's needed in common. It's important that someone thinks about the business as a whole and makes sure that the parts all work together. This is the role of the general manager, but because the general manager job involves more thinking than doing, it often gets overlooked on a farm. Once you've got your structure down, you can easily turn this into a roles and responsibilities chart by adding the name of the person currently filling each role and listing the main responsibilities of the position underneath. I've started this one as an example. Like you can see that Mary is a general manager, and here's some of the general manager's responsibilities. Mary's responsible for setting long-term strategy, approving the manager's plans, so the cropping manager's plan, the livestock manager's plan, the finance manager's plan. Mary would directly supervise those three managers at the next level, and possibly Mary would have other responsibilities like dealing with the really major customers for this particular farm business. So when you're drawing your own chart, have a think about how it looks compared to these 5 questions. Firstly, how does it measure up against the 5 principles that we talked about earlier? Do we all know who's got responsibility for what from looking at our chart? Has anyone got more than one boss? That's a big no-no. Is it helping to train the next generation of management? Very important if you're looking at handing on the farm to the next generation. And importantly, will this structure help us achieve our goals? These are big questions, and just the effort of drawing up a roles and responsibilities chart will really help you get these clear in your own mind. Things change and our needs change. Our roles and responsibilities chart needs to be reviewed and updated so that it will go on accurately reflecting our business. The review time is a great opportunity to think about the roles and responsibilities of the family members, particularly as they relate to succession and estate planning. Succession planning is about who's going to take over the key roles when the current person leaves a business, retires, or sadly dies. The roles and responsibilities chart can highlight if this person is being trained to take over. If their role doesn't allow them to make decisions at some level and take responsibility for them, it's likely that the transfer to the next generation will be very difficult, and in fact may even end up with losing the farm business. Estate planning is about ensuring that the assets of the business will allow for the retirement needs of the current key people, while still allowing the business to continue. So you can see that succession and estate planning are really tied up together. Both of these aspects are critical to the ongoing survival of the business. Having a roles and responsibilities chart and including this thinking about succession and estate planning at your regular reviews is a great basis for communication about these issues. This will increase clarity and hopefully will reduce the potential for conflict in your farm family. Working through the exercise to develop your own roles and responsibilities chart allows you to define the structure of your business. This picture shows how much stronger a group of people working together within a clear structure can be compared to any one of them working individually. It's a really powerful picture to keep in mind. I hope you're thinking closely about your farm business and how it's organised. I'm confident that this mental effort will be well rewarded, but be warned, it could be a real conversation starter for your family. You may find that there's very different understandings of roles and responsibilities around the people in your business, and there may be a great opportunity to talk about it and get clarity not only on what the current organisation is, but also how it may look at some time in the future. On a much more mundane note, you should be ready now to do the quiz and complete section 3 of your workbook. Good luck with working through this topic in your business.